Good evening and welcome back to Falcon Update live on YBTV. My name's Nolan Hoganboom.
And I'm Brian Schermeyer. For more Falcon Update related content, be sure to check out our YouTube channel as well as our YBTV social media platforms.
Keeping an eye on Messiah University's handling of the COVID-19 crisis, the university's dedicated webpage reports 6 student cases and 1 employee case of COVID-19. We've moved into a new phase, allowing limited visitation on the floor with social distancing in effect. Messiah continues to encourage students and employees alike to wear a double-layered cloth mask and maintain 6-foot social distancing. Let's continue to keep the campus safe.
Work continues to move forward on the Kim Phipps Welcome Center. The contractors have been working hard to make up lost time, but supply shortages and delays have forced another pushback. Interior spaces are almost finished as carpets should be installed shortly. Air conditioning and heat will be turned on once the storefront is installed. Bathroom tiles are nearly finished. Lighting is currently being installed. Furniture is set to be delivered in mid-November because of all of the setbacks. The Welcome Center is now scheduled to be finished just before Thanksgiving. The green areas behind the Welcome Center are set for student usage shortly. The administration is waiting for the grass to be firmly established before opening those areas for use. The planting of trees in these areas are planned for the weeks to come.
With COVID-19 making new protocols necessary, a number of campus institutions have had to change the way they run things, and Lottie Nelson Dining Hall is among them. Here's Paul Callender with more.
While many students were looking forward to come back to Lottie Nelson Dining Hall to enjoy the same food that they always have, there's been a lot of changes since the pandemic started. Lottie Nelson Dining Hall, the campus's all-you-can-eat dining location, has had to adapt in order to comply with many CDC guidelines enforced as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic.
We wanted to have very minimal impact on the quality of the food, the variety, and also to help with sustainability efforts. So what we've done at Lottie is make most of our items in to-go containers. We've developed even further training for student employees and full-time employees, which is hand washing, masks, personal protective equipment, and we have, of course, made the dining hall a little more socially distant by removing 75% of our capacity.
However, with Lottie's new to-go formula, there's been a lot of talk around how much food is acceptable to take out.
We have noticed an increase with production. The situation we're in does require that we have to-go availability. We have noticed folks taking bags and bags full of desserts or the novelty frozen ice creams, or 3 or 4 or 5, 6, 8 pizzas at a time.
If you want like a lot of veggies or like extra like French fries, like we'd be happy to do that for you. That's pretty easy. But it definitely is a gray area for both the Lottie workers and the people coming in because no one really knows how much they can get.
With the way we have to run Lottie right now, it's more important to keep everyone safe, happy, and fed than actually missing out on food cost savings. We're very adamant about not having to raise prices for the student meal plans. So we're just working extra hard to keep up with the demand, and we're hoping that students will realize that they're just taking too much food, and I hope that it doesn't go to waste.
While Lottie Nelson Dining Hall certainly is a little bit different because of the pandemic, they still offer the same excellent food and excellent customer service it always has. For YBTV, I'm Paul Callender.
Thanks, Paul. A fire alarm was reported in Hoffman Hall on Saturday morning around 2:45 a.m. No injuries were reported. The fire department responded and put out the fire in the empty building after flames and smoke were sighted coming from the basement laundry room. The fire was contained within this area, but caused water damage and left a lot of soot and smoke damage. It is also worth noting this is the second fire to occur in Hoffman within the past year. Employees working in this building today were asked to work remotely or in another location while the cleanup occurred. The Department of Safety reported on Saturday it'll take several days to determine the impact this will have on Messiah's laundry services. Until the building is deemed safe to inhabit again, Hoffman Hall has been taped off from the public.
We will have more Falcon Update after the break. Stay tuned.
What?
I'm Lily. I am a junior, and I am a broadcasting and media production major at Messiah College. I chose to be a broadcasting and media production major because as a little girl, I dreamt of being a TV anchor. There are so many opportunities you can have as a broadcasting major. Messiah is really unique in the fact that we have our own TV station, and it's student-led, so each week we have Falcon Update, which is a half hour, and then we have MC Live, which is a half hour as well. My favorite part is just being in the hustle and bustle of everything, and I'm really excited to just be creative when I'm putting together news packages or shooting other stories, just really getting every element of storytelling in my work. So we have a lot of faith-based projects. Right now we're working on one, it's called Faith Sides for multimedia storytelling. In pairs we're interviewing each other for 2 minutes about some aspect of faith. A lot of students from our major either intern at ABC 27 or WGAL. I shadowed one of my professors at a Hershey Bears game. The Bears are a local AHL hockey team, and through that experience I developed connections, and eventually I got a job there. So I run the Crossfire machine and the LEDs on game days. My freshman year at Messiah, when I first came, I knew absolutely nothing about broadcasting or media, and now I feel confident that I can go work at a TV news station.
Planning the right amount of food is hard. The Guestimator makes it easy. Just tell it who's coming and what's for dinner. Then it tells you how much to make. And yes, it even plans for leftovers. Try it at SaveTheFood.com.
Can I give you a hand?
Hello and welcome back to Falcon Features, the segment where we highlight the accomplishments of Messiah students, faculty, and alumni. Once again, I'm your host, Paul Callender. This week, we're going to take a look at the research Professor Scott Kiefer and his students completed this past spring. Kiefer had 2 student-led research projects accepted for poster presentations at the Experimental Biology Conference. While the conference was canceled due to the pandemic, student Josh Baylor was able to virtually present the ongoing work entitled The Effect of Caffeine and Adora-2 Genetic Variants on Anaerobic Performance during a 30-second Wingate test. And fellow student Rose Hartman was able to submit a study named The Effects of Acute Bout Controlled Breathing on Short-Term Heart Rate Variability. These students' abstracts were also published in the FASEB journal as well. Additionally, Scott's research mentee, Caleb Smith, received a trip to the American Physiological Association Summer Research Fellowship in order to conduct research in a mentorship program at the Hershey Medical Center. His program was also submitted at the Virtual Experimental Biology Conference and received one of the outstanding undergraduate research awards. And as we can see from various students and Professor Kiefer doing this research, the ongoing pandemic was not going to stop our Falcons from sharing their knowledge and expertise with the world. These students were able to receive these honors and awards from working closely with their professor, and with the small classes we have here at Messiah University, there are plenty of opportunities for students to connect with professors. With all that said, that wraps up this episode of Falcon Features. Once again, I'm Paul Callender, signing off.
Thanks, Paul. It's that time in our show for Falcon on the Street, the segment where throughout campus we ask Messiah students a random question. Let's go to PJ Rydell for this week's question.
This week on Falcon in the Street, we asked Messiah students whether they're doing mail-in voting or in-person voting.
I will be voting in person this year because I live locally.
I will also probably be voting in person because I'll probably just go home for the weekend to vote.
I'm voting by mail.
I'm voting in person.
I'm going to be voting in person this year.
I'll be voting in person just because if we can go to grocery stores and like all that, why shouldn't we be allowed to vote in person? I think voting in person is definitely very important just because it's what's always been done. There can be a lot of technological errors with voting by mail. I mean, things can get lost, and I think it's really important to be able to put it into the machine yourself and know that you're the one who casted your vote and you did it yourself.
So I live about 8 hours away, so I'm voting by mail.
I'm voting in person. I live really close to here. My parents were like, hey, we'll come pick you up. So I'm going to be voting in person.
We're voting by mail.
I'm voting by mail.
I'm voting by mail.
I'm voting in person.
I'm voting by mail.
I'm voting by mail, and I chose to do that because it's just more convenient.
I'll be voting in person. I'm not 100% sure on the logistics of whether or not there's like issues with the mailing and things, but I'm not much of a traditionalist, but it seems like the in-person voting is a good way of going about it. I don't know, there's a whole lot of issues surrounding either side of it, but yeah.
Thank you everybody for your answers, and remember, you can submit your answers on our social medias too. That's it for this week's episode of Falcon on the Street. I'm PJ Rydell.
Thanks, PJ. You need something to do this week? We're going to Jessica Sazauskas for this week's campus calendar.
Welcome back to YBTV. I'm Jessica Sazauskas with this week's campus calendar. Because of COVID-19, there aren't many events going on around campus, but there are still a few that are important to keep in mind. The Career and Professional Development Center is pleased to announce its virtual Into the City trip to California. During the second week of October, they will be featuring online career chats with numerous alumni from the California region. Some of the well-known companies that the alumni are representing include Netflix on Monday, October 5th from 1 to 2 p.m., Google on Tuesday, October 6th from 4 to 5 p.m., LinkedIn on Wednesday, October 7th from 4 to 5 p.m., and Disney on Thursday, October 8th from 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. For more information and to register for online ICT California sessions, you can find the link on our social media and in the description below. The Oak Museum Office of Sustainability and Earthkeeping are sponsoring a fall photo contest. The photos must be taken on the Grantham campus of Messiah University during the 2020 fall semester. The categories include wildlife, earthkeeping in the practice, beauty in nature, and beauty in the built environment. Deadlines for submissions is October 24th at 1:59 p.m. Even though chapel credits are not required this semester, there are still many ways for you to plug in and connect during the 9:30 and 10:15 a.m. chapel time slot on Tuesday and Thursday. There is chapel titled Music and Meaning amid the pandemic on Tuesday, September 22nd at 9:30 a.m. Then on Thursday, the 24th, Colossal Zoom Sixer meet from 9:30 to 10:15 a.m. with Pastor Doug. SAB's Green on the Green represents Jojo Rabbit. Come out to Bittner Beach this weekend and bring a blanket. Some snacks will be provided and come to check-in station so they don't exceed the maximum capability of 25 students. Seating is first come, first served, and students must stay socially distant, wear a mask, and sit one person per circle during the show. Showtimes are Friday 9:25 and Saturday 9:26 at 8 p.m. For potential graduates, the undergraduate application for degree or certificate is now open in self-service. If you plan to graduate this academic year, you must apply for your degree and certificate no later than 12 midnight on Friday, October 2nd. After this time, the application will be deactivated online and a paper application will be submitted to the registrar's office. That's all we have for this week's campus calendar. I'm Jessica Sazauskis.
Thanks, Jessica. It is with great sadness that we announce the passing of former math professor Dr. Gene Chase on September 14th. Dr. Chase came to Messiah in 1973 as an assistant professor of mathematics. He served 34 years as a professor of math and computer science. In 2001, he was awarded the Dr. Robert and Marilyn Smith Award for Outstanding Teaching. Upon retiring in 2007, Dr. Chase was named Professor Emeritus of Computer Science and Mathematics, where he continued to teach part-time until 2015. Please join us in a moment of silence to honor Dr. Chase and keep his family in your prayers.
Sure am. My sleep has been great ever since I started treatment for sleep apnea.
Well, nearly 30 million adults have it, including me.
Now let me guess, it was your snoring that gave it away?
Oh, yes, it was. Intense snoring is one of the classic signs.
Other signs include gasping for breath during sleep and daytime sleepiness. If untreated, the risk of heart disease and stroke increases.
I didn't know that, but I'm glad to hear the treatment can help.
Certainly can. To learn more about the warning signs, visit defendsleep.com.
My name is Nathan Sims. I'm a junior at Messiah College, and I'm a double major in both film and media arts and Spanish. I grew up making films as a kid. I saw that Messiah had a film program, and so when I visited, I just thought this is the perfect fit. Both the theory and practical considerations here have really increased my skill set, not just in a technical sense, but also from a theoretical perspective as well. I think the biggest piece that I'll add to my portfolio before I graduate is the final film for the junior and senior film project. That'll probably be my crowning achievement because I'm working with so many other artists and other film majors, and it's just been a really great opportunity so far. I think I'm most excited to use skills I've learned in documentary class. I have to make ethical decisions in every step of the process to really come up with a strong and truthful way to tell someone else's story. I think my professors have done a really great job of being strong examples for what combining your faith and your ethics with an art form like film, what that looks like. And so the interactions have almost always been positive because they're really invested in what their students are learning. One of my most valuable experiences was my internship, where I was able to actually apply what I learned in the classroom to the real world, and I think that's a completely invaluable experience. Personally, I did my internship with the Department of Natural Resources in Maryland. One of my favorite experiences at Messiah so far has actually been the Splice Film Festival, which allows students to submit their own personal work, and being able to share the art that I created as well as my fellow classmates was absolutely beautiful. I think the market right now is very open for film and media arts majors. There's a lot of different ways that you can plug in, both at nonprofits, at regular organizations. I worked in the government, and so I think there are absolutely a lot of opportunities.
Forests bring people together, feed the soul, and improve our well-being, cleaning the water we need, the air we breathe, and making our climate livable. Fires and natural disasters devastate our forests each year. That's why the Arbor Day Foundation is working to replant millions of trees across the country. Visit arborday.org and see how you can help.
Be the voice for those who cannot speak. Be the next generation that changes the world. Be the Youth for Wildlife.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from aging and cancer. The FDA recommends using a sunscreen with an SPF of 15 or higher. Also, look for broad spectrum on the label. That means both harmful ultraviolet A and B rays are blocked. Remember, SPF plus broad spectrum equal healthy fun in the sun. Visit www.fda.gov/sunscreen for more information. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Hiya! Queen of All Knowledge here, reminding you, creeps out there on the internet hack, scam, and trick savvy cyber users every day. But we can fight back. It's as easy as IC3. If you're a victim of online crime, don't give up. Visit IC3, the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center. Your tips help the FBI track down cyber criminals around the world. Report your crime to www.ic3.gov today.
Welcome back to Falcon Update. I am joined by Rachel Motto, a student leader from SAGE. How are you today? I'm great, thank you. That's good. So, can you explain what the SAGE program is on campus?
So, the SAGE program is Messiah's Sexuality and Gender Education Club. So, we talk about things like sexuality, gender roles, feminism, relationships, broad topics like that.
All right, that's cool. So, what is your role as a student leader, and how can one become a student leader?
So as a student leader, I'm the SAGE Connects coordinator, so I'm in charge of planning and organizing the SAGE Connects events, whether that's, planning a presentation for myself to give or finding speakers to speak at those events. And if someone's interested in finding a position like that, you can just go and apply at the jobs.messiah.edu and apply for those positions and interview for them.
Is it just SAGE Connects coordinators, or is there different types of coordinators?
This year there are 3 branches of SAGE that are a little bit different. We have SAGE Prism, SAGE Connects, and SAGE Communications. SAGE Communications is basically the PR side of it, with like our social media and our emails and making posters. SAGE Connects, which is what I'm in charge of, that deals with relational and sexual ethics, so more broader topics like relationships, abuse, feminism, gender roles, things like that. And then SAGE Prism is the same in that it talks about the LGBT+ community and issues regarding those topics.
Awesome. So so you said it's a new thing this year, the 3 groups.
So it used to be SAGE Events and SAGE Care,
Mm-hmm.
and those have shifted slightly just because of how they did or didn't work in previous years. We do still have elements of both incorporated into our current branches now.
So what SAGE events are happening this semester?
So some SAGE Connects events that have happened or are going to happen. We had a discussion about healthy and unhealthy relationships. We're going to be talking about things such as
we're talking about like gender expectations. We're talking about hypersexualization of women in video games. Some SAGE Prism topics are how to be a good ally. Things like LGBT+ history and some things like that.
That's awesome. So you mentioned a little bit before about the SAGE Care groups. I know they're a little different this year. So what are they now? And
so because we don't technically have the SAGE Care branch anymore, it's slightly different. Those SAGE Care groups still exist.
Mm-hmm.
Those groups are just confidential spaces for students to gather and discuss, sexuality, sexual trauma, pornography, addiction or use, things like that in a confidential space. So those groups still exist. They're facilitated by SAGE as a whole, not necessarily directed by like one leader or one staff member. So if anyone's interested in joining those groups, they can contact Hannah McBride or Mike Blount.
Awesome. So can care groups be created by students, or is it specifically just the coordinators?
It can be a give and take of both, depending on the topic you want to discuss. Or if you have some people in mind who also want to discuss that topic with you, we can either put you into a group that's already in place that has that topic, or if one needs to be created to accommodate that, that can also happen.
Awesome. So I heard some things about like SAGE Prism specifically, and can you explain a little bit about what that is and then how can one get involved?
So SAGE Prism, as I said, talks about the LGBT+ community and topics regarding that. They meet every other Monday from 4 to 5, and that's led by Katie Ann Fikett. So if you want more information, we always send out mass emails, or you can look at our social media, but you can also email Katie at sageprism@messiah.edu for more information about what events are happening, or like how confidential is it, or other questions that you might have.
Awesome. So like the confidentiality part of it, if a student has a question or they need a resource, who can they go to for that aspect of it?
So the SAGE student leaders, which would be myself, and then Katie, who I said is the PRISM leader, and then Lindsay Pecora, who's the communications leader, we are not confidential. We are mandated reporters, but we can be private and discreet. If you're specifically looking for a private or a confidential resource, a great one would be Hannah McBride, who is one of our advisors. You can contact her at hmcbride@messiah.edu. She's a great confidential resource to find.
Awesome. Well, unfortunately, that is all the time that we have, but thank you so much, Rachel, for coming on our show and talking about such an awesome thing that's happening on campus. For more content, be sure to check out our YouTube channel and YBTV social media platforms. For Nolan Hogenboon, Brian Schermeyer, and our other fabulous reporters, I am JC Seltzer. Have a great night, everyone, and we will see you next week.